Let me ask you a question. Have you ever written down a goal, got excited for a few days, and then nothing? You didn't follow through. You forgot. Or you simply gave up. We've all been there. It's not that we're lazy. It's not that we're incapable. The truth is, most of us were never taught how to set goals in a way that actually works. We treat goal setting like a to-do list. A checkbox: lose weight, make more money, start a business. These are not goals, these are wishes in disguise. And wishes don't drive action. Purpose does. Let's start here. The problem isn't our goals, the problem is how we think about them. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, a friend of mine set a goal to run a marathon. He printed the training schedule, bought the shoes, and posted his goal on social media. He was motivated for 2 weeks. Then life happened. Work got busy. The weather got cold. The excuses started. Most people set goals by asking, what do I want to achieve? It's the most common approach. And the most misleading. We focus on results. Lose 10 pounds, earn more money, write a book, get a promotion. And while there's nothing wrong with aiming high, these what goals are often disconnected from the deeper reasons that drive lasting behavior. That's why so many people start strong and fizzle out. The excitement wears off, obstacles show up, and suddenly the goal doesn't feel worth it anymore. The real issue is that we started in the wrong place. The most effective goals don't start with what, they start with who. The question we should be asking is, who do I want to become? Because when you start with identity, when your goals are rooted in the type of person you aspire to be, everything changes. You're no longer just trying to check a box, you're aligning your actions with your values. It's a shift from external achievement to internal transformation. Think about it this way. Someone who sets a goal to run a marathon is focused on an event. But someone who decides, I want to become a runner, is focused on identity. The first person is likely to train for a few months and then stop after the race. The second person is more likely to keep going because running is now part of who they are. This principle applies everywhere. Don't set a goal to read 30 books. Decide to become someone who learns constantly. Don't set a goal to lose weight. Choose to become someone who prioritizes their health. When your goals flow from the person you want to be, they become more sustainable because every step you take reinforces that identity. This also solves another common problem: inconsistency. People often struggle with staying on track because they rely on motivation. But motivation is unreliable. What's far more powerful is identity. When a behavior matches your self-image, you don't need to convince yourself to do it, you just do it. A person who identifies as a writer writes regularly, even on the days they don't feel like it. A person who sees themselves as a leader speaks up, takes initiative, and makes decisions, not because they're always confident, but because it's who they are becoming. Of course, identity-based goals require clarity. You have to know what kind of person you truly want to be. Not what looks good on paper, but what feels true to your values. This takes reflection. You might ask, what kind of person do I admire? What qualities do I want to cultivate in myself? When you get clear on your values, setting the right goals becomes much easier. The goal becomes a vehicle to help you step into that identity. And when setbacks come, and they always will, you're more resilient because your goal isn't just about crossing a finish line, it's about building a life that reflects your character. Temporary failure doesn't threaten your sense of progress, it becomes part of your growth. So the next time you set a goal, don't start with a number or a finish line. Start with a vision of who you want to become. Let your identity shape your behavior. Let your behavior shape your outcomes. And over time, you'll see something far more powerful than a goal achieved. You'll see a person transformed. We live in a world obsessed with performance. Metrics, achievements, and results dominate the conversation. We measure success by what we produce, how fast we move, and how much we can get done. Naturally, when we set goals, we bring this mindset with us. We focus on outcomes. How many pounds can I lose? How much money can I make? How fast can I get there? But here's the truth most people discover the hard way. Goals driven purely by performance eventually run out of fuel. They may work for a while, but when stress rises, when progress slows, or when no one's watching, those goals often collapse. That's because performance without purpose is fragile. Purpose is what gives a goal its staying power. It's the reason beneath the reason. It's not just what you want, it's why you want it. Without that clarity, even the most ambitious goals start to feel empty. You can be productive and still feel disconnected. You can be successful and still feel lost. Let's take a common example. Someone sets a goal to get promoted. It seems like a reasonable goal, but if it's only about the title or the paycheck, motivation fades fast once the hard work begins. Every late night, every stressful meeting, every setback feels heavier. Because there's no deeper anchor. But if that same person connects their goal to a deeper purpose, maybe they want to create better opportunities for their family or use their influence to lead with integrity, suddenly the hard days have meaning. The purpose fuels the effort. Performance alone looks impressive on the outside, but purpose is what sustains you on the inside. This is especially true when obstacles show up, and they always do. Goals based solely on performance often lead to frustration when progress isn't linear. You plan to lose 5 pounds in a month, but you only lost 2. If your only measurement is performance, you feel like a failure. But if your goal is rooted in purpose, if it's about becoming someone who values long-term health, then even slow progress becomes part of the process. The purpose reframes the experience. It turns failure into feedback, not defeat. Purpose also helps filter your goals. So many people chase goals that don't even belong to them. They follow trends, copy others, or try to impress people they don't actually care about. That's what happens when performance is the only driver. But when you start with purpose, you're less likely to chase empty rewards. You focus instead on what aligns with your values, your calling, and your unique path. That kind of clarity doesn't just help you set better goals, it helps you endure the journey to achieve them. Because when things get hard, and they will, it's not your performance that will carry you through, it's your purpose. It's the deeper why that reminds you that this effort matters, even when no one else sees it. That this discipline, this sacrifice, this persistence, it all means something. Think of the people you admire, the ones who keep showing up year after year, not because it's easy, but because they believe in something bigger than themselves. That's the power of purpose. It doesn't always look glamorous, it's not always fast, but it is consistent. And in the long run, consistency wins. So when you set your next goal, don't just ask, what do I want to achieve? Ask, why does this matter to me? If the answer doesn't stir something in you, keep digging. Because once you find the purpose, the performance will follow. But without purpose, performance is just noise. Movement without meaning, and goals without meaning never last. Setting goals is easy. Achieving them is not. Most people get caught in the excitement of setting goals, writing them down, creating vision boards, announcing them to friends. But when the excitement fades, reality hits. That's when the real challenge begins. The problem isn't that people don't want to change. The problem is that they rely on the goal itself to do the work. They think that setting a goal is enough to carry them through. But goals don't create change, systems do. A goal is an outcome, a system is a process. If your goal is to write a book, your system is your daily writing habit. If your goal is to get fit, your system is your workout routine and how you eat. If your goal is to save money, your system is your budget and spending behavior. Goals are where you want to go. Systems are how you get there. Without a system, a goal is just a wish. One of the biggest mistakes people make is treating goals like events. They aim for a single moment of success, the promotion, the product launch, the weight on the scale. But real lasting change doesn't come from reaching a single milestone. It comes from repeating meaningful actions over and over again. Systems create those actions. They make progress automatic. They reduce friction. They build momentum. It's helpful to think of goals as the direction you're headed, and systems as the engine that moves you forward. You can know exactly where you want to go, but if your engine doesn't run, you won't move. That's why some people with ambitious goals don't achieve much, because they never build the engine. They rely on motivation, willpower, or sheer intensity. But those things fade. Systems, on the other hand, create consistency. Let's take a closer look at how systems change the game. First, systems make your progress measurable and repeatable. You can't always control the outcome, but you can control the process. You can't guarantee you'll lose 10 pounds by a certain date, but you can control whether you walk 10,000 steps every day or cook your own meals. You can't force yourself to become a best-selling author overnight, but you can commit to writing 500 words a day. Over time, those daily actions add up. Progress becomes inevitable. Second, systems reduce decision fatigue. Every time you have to choose whether or not to act, you burn energy. Should I go to the gym today? Should I read tonight? Should I make that sales call? But if you have a system in place, you don't have to decide, you just follow it. The more automatic your behavior, the more likely you are to follow through. Systems turn good intentions into habits. Third, systems help you stay grounded when motivation dips. Everyone starts strong. But when motivation fades, and it always does, it's the system that keeps you going. A system doesn't care if you're tired, busy, or uninspired. It just says, this is what we do. So while it's important to have goals, to know your direction, don't stop there. Build the process that will carry you forward. Set up your environment, design your habits, remove friction, and track your consistency. Because in the end, it's not the goal that changes you. It's the system you build around it. And when you build a system that works, success becomes a natural byproduct. Most people approach their goals with a finish line mentality. They set a destination and fixate on how far away it is, whether it's making a certain amount of money, losing a specific amount of weight, launching a business, or hitting a milestone. The goal becomes a distant point they obsess over. The problem with this approach is that it often leads to discouragement. When progress feels slow, or when the goal seems far away, people lose momentum. They feel like they're failing simply because they're not there yet. But here's the truth. Progress isn't measured by how close you are to the end, it's measured by the direction you're heading. Focusing on direction over distance is a mindset shift that changes everything. It means valuing trajectory more than speed. It means recognizing that growth isn't always visible in the short term. It's about asking, am I moving in the right direction, instead of, why am I not there yet? When we fixate on distance, we tend to judge ourselves unfairly. We compare our current state to an ideal future and feel disappointed by the gap. But all meaningful change happens in stages. It's often invisible, subtle, and slow at first. Just because you can't see dramatic results doesn't mean they aren't happening. A seed doesn't sprout the day it's planted. Progress takes time, and more importantly, it takes consistency. Direction gives us permission to be patient. If you're trying to become healthier and you're eating better, moving your body, and getting more sleep, even if the scale hasn't changed, you're still winning. You're pointing yourself toward the life you want. That matters. That's progress. But if you only measure distance, you'll miss the significance of the small steps. You'll overlook the behaviors that are actually leading you somewhere. This perspective also guards against burnout. When you focus only on how far there is to go, the journey can feel overwhelming. But when you focus on direction, you start to see value in every step. You start to appreciate the process. You become less outcome-obsessed and more growth-oriented. And ironically, that's what allows you to stick with it long enough to reach your destination anyway. Another advantage of focusing on direction is that it's flexible. Life doesn't follow a straight line. You'll encounter detours, delays, and disruptions. If your only focus is distance, every setback feels like failure. But if your focus is direction, setbacks become part of the route. They're not disqualifiers, they're teachers. You learn, you adjust, and you keep going. That's resilience. That's what separates those who achieve long-term change from those who quit early. This doesn't mean you should ignore your goals or never look at your end targets. It just means you should use them as a compass, not a scoreboard. Let the goal point you, but don't let it define your worth. What matters more than how far you are is whether you're still moving towards something that matters. Every step in the right direction reinforces your identity. Every healthy meal, every morning run, every difficult conversation, every journal entry, these actions might seem small on. Another advantage of focusing on direction is that it's flexible. Life doesn't follow a straight line. You'll encounter detours, delays, and disruptions. If your only focus is distance, every setback feels like failure. But if your focus is direction, setbacks become part of the route. They're not disqualifiers, they're teachers. You learn, you adjust, and you keep going. That's resilience. That's what separates those who achieve long-term change from those who quit early. This doesn't mean you should ignore your goals or never look at your end targets. It just means you should use them as a compass, not a scoreboard. Let the goal point you, but don't let it define your worth. What matters more than how far you are is whether you're still moving towards something that matters. Every step in the right direction reinforces your identity. Every healthy meal, every morning run, every difficult conversation, every journal entry, these actions might seem small on their own, but collectively, they build your future. They shape your mindset, strengthen your discipline, and increase your capacity. So the next time you feel discouraged because you're not where you want to be, stop and ask a better question. Am I headed in the right direction? If the answer is yes, keep going. Trust the process, believe in small steps. And remember, success isn't about how fast you get there. It's about whether you're becoming the kind of person who never turns back. We tend to glorify intensity. We admire the overnight success, the viral breakout, the dramatic weight loss, the person who changes their entire life in 30 days. Intensity is loud, it's exciting, it makes great headlines. But in the real world, the world of lasting change and meaningful results, intensity rarely wins. What actually creates transformation is consistency. Consistency isn't glamorous, it's not flashy, it doesn't turn heads, but it works. Because while intensity burns hot, it also burns out. Consistency, on the other hand, quietly builds momentum over time. It's the small effort repeated daily that compounds into something powerful. Most people don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they can't stay consistent. They put in a burst of effort, don't see results fast enough, and then quit. They fall for the illusion that big change requires big action, but the truth is it requires repeated action. Consider someone who wants to get in shape. They go to the gym for 3 hours one day, push themselves to the limit, feel exhausted, and then don't return for 2 weeks. That intensity feels impressive, but it leads nowhere. Now picture someone who works out for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. They're not breaking records, they're not posting extreme before and after photos, but over months and years, their effort adds up. They become stronger, healthier, more disciplined, not because they went hard once, but because they showed up consistently. This principle applies to everything: writing a book, learning a skill, building a business, improving relationships. You don't succeed by doing something once in a big way. You succeed by doing something small in a meaningful way over and over. It's not about how much you can do in one day. It's about what you're willing to do every day. Consistency also builds trust, internally and externally. When you keep showing up, even when it's inconvenient, you start to believe in yourself. Your confidence grows. You prove to yourself that you're reliable. And over time, others begin to see you that way too. You become the person who follows through, who delivers, who doesn't give up when things get hard. That's a reputation you can't buy with one big effort. It's earned slowly through steady action. The beauty of consistency is that it doesn't demand perfection. It only asks for repetition. You don't have to crush every workout. You just have to show up. You don't have to write a masterpiece every day. You just have to write. The goal isn't to be extraordinary in every moment. The goal is to stay in motion, to stay committed. And over time, those average days start producing exceptional results. There's another powerful benefit to consistency. It transforms your identity. Every time you follow through, even when you don't feel like it, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. You stop saying things like, "I wish I were more disciplined," and start realizing, "I am disciplined." Because you're proving it to yourself in the simplest way possible, by doing the work, day in and day out. Of course, life gets busy. There are distractions, stress, and setbacks. That's why your sustainable success isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are. Too many people chase performance without paying attention to identity. They aim to achieve impressive results, but never ask themselves, what kind of person do I want to become? And that's the root of so much frustration. Because when your actions aren't aligned with your values, when your habits don't reflect your character, there's an internal disconnect. You might achieve the goal, but it doesn't feel meaningful. You might perform well, but you still don't feel whole. Becoming the person means choosing transformation over mere execution. It means seeing your goals as a tool to shape your identity, not just boost your resume or your reputation. If you want to write a book, the real win isn't the finished manuscript. It's becoming someone who shows up daily with courage, focus, and discipline. If you want to build a business, the real value isn't the money you make. It's becoming someone who takes responsibility, solves problems, and leads with purpose. This shift in mindset changes everything. Suddenly, your goal isn't a task to complete. It's a mirror reflecting your growth. You stop asking, "Did I hit the target?" and start asking, "Am I growing into the kind of person who could hit it and keep going beyond it?" That mindset creates resilience. Because even if the outcome takes longer than you hoped, or if it changes completely, You're still winning. You're still evolving. You're still becoming. Focusing on identity also helps you let go of comparison. When you're chasing performance, it's easy to look sideways. You see someone running faster, earning more, or achieving more, and you feel behind. But when your focus is on becoming, the only person you're competing with is the previous version of yourself. Progress becomes personal. Success becomes a reflection of internal change, not external applause. This approach also leads to deeper fulfillment, because the truth is, goals come and go. You'll hit milestones and then you'll set new ones. You'll accomplish things and the thrill will fade, but the person you become, that lasts. The habits you build, the values you live by, the discipline you develop, that shapes your life far beyond the goal itself. It influences your relationships, your health, your career, your peace of mind. That's why becoming matters more than performing. And here's the beautiful part. When you focus on becoming, the performance takes care of itself. Not overnight, but over time. Because when you consistently act in alignment with the kind of person you want to be, results follow. A disciplined person performs better. A focused person accomplishes more. A courageous person takes action. Performance becomes a byproduct, not the pursuit. So whatever your goal is, ask yourself this: who do I need to become in order to reach it? And what can I do today that reflects that version of myself? Maybe it's waking up earlier, having a tough conversation, practicing patience, or showing up even when it's hard. These small moments of alignment add up. They shape your character. They build your foundation. Don't just chase outcomes. Use your goals to grow. Use the process to refine who you are, because in the end, it's not about the applause, the medals, or the numbers. It's about living in a way that's true to who you're becoming. And that kind of success doesn't fade.